Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Springer.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Great to be here. Normally we open up kind of joking around, telling ridiculous jokes, but people should know that are listening to this now that we are recording this and on June 14th of this year. And 2 days ago, there was the event down in Orlando, Florida at the Pulse nightclub. And a crazy person goes in there with all kinds of problems involving hatred and blows away. In the process, 49 people were killed, dead, gone. That's it. And it's like just doing, the people there doing what normal young people do every weekend, you know. They're just out with their friends, having a good time, music, dancing, whatever. And this club is institutional. It is very prominent within the LGBT community. And this guy goes in and blows these people away. Purely coincidentally, and Gene, I'll let you take over from here, but Gene's daughter, Lindsay, who frankly I've known since birth, she is very artistic, a great, great dancer, and has danced professionally in every, you know, from Disney all the way out to Vegas, whatever. And Gene's down visiting Lindsay, I guess it was several months ago.
Yep.
And has dinner with Lindsay and, sadly, one of the people who was killed in that club Saturday night. So, Gene, why don't you take it from here, because I think we have Lindsay coming on the phone now.
Yes, and just one minor correction, but I actually were David and Lindsay, my son-in-law David, who is a stuntman at Disney, and my daughter, who has worked for Disney, and she has 2 children. She now works for Metropolis, which is an entertainment company, significant entertainment company in Orlando. And they do a job at Universal Studios at a club called Rising Star. And Shane Tomlinson is her friend, was her friend and co-worker. And we have my daughter, Lindsay, from Orlando, Florida. She just stepped out of a rehearsal with this company called Metropolis. And I've asked Lindsay to come on with us because I think it's important when an attack like this happens. This was a terrorist attack. Deranged guy, but he pledged allegiance to ISIL, and we have to, you know, we're going to give him that. He's a terrorist. I'm going to label him as such. We're not going to name him. He doesn't deserve that. But the thing is, the people who died, the 49 people who died, they're human beings with lives and loved ones and families. And I think it's important that we honor them with some attention. And the small thing we can do is, and I'm going to ask Lindsay to jump in here and to tell us about Shane Tomlinson, who was a friend and co-worker of hers at a place called Rising Star, which is at Universal. Lindsay, how are you?
Hi. Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
Hi, Lindsay.
And we have Megan Hills here and your old friend, Uncle Jerry Springer.
Mr. Springer will do. Yes.
And
Hi.
Okay, Lindsay, on a serious note, first of all, why don't you first tell us, briefly just about your friend, because this is all obviously very personal.
Oh, sure. His name was Shane, and he was a coworker of mine and a colleague of mine in the entertainment community, and he's been getting a lot of press for what an amazing entertainer he was, and of course he was that, but he was so much more. He was such a kind-hearted person. Every time I saw him, he greeted me with such a warm hug. How's your family? How are your babies? He's a son. He's a brother. He's an uncle. He just had a new nephew who's about a year old, and he doted on that that nephew. He loved him so much. He was a man of strong faith. He loved God. He loved his church. He was the leader of a band, a convention band that did weddings, but they also had a regular gig here at Blue Martini, which is one of the nightclubs here in Orlando that they performed at regularly, which is kind of a big deal. You know, we have a lot of talent here in Orlando, a lot of bands. And so to land a regular gig like that, you know, that goes to bands that really pull in a lot of people. And Shane was the band leader. He brought all those people together in his band. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful person. I just ran into him a week ago, and we had such a lovely conversation, and we're just all really going to miss him. It's a big impact on our
how did you
community here.
Yeah, how did you first hear about the event, about what happened, and what?
How did I first hear about?
Yeah, and when did you hear?
I found out. I have a new baby. He's 10 weeks old, and I woke up at 7 a.m., maybe 6:45, to nurse him, and got on Facebook, and all these people, my friends, were putting up posts about Pulse nightclub this, you know, a shooting. And at first it didn't register because, you know, we'd had that shooting the night before at the plaza. So that my brain just kind of went there. And then I started to see the clips, because I follow news channels on Facebook, and I started to see clips. And then it dawned on me what was happening. And at that time, it was 20 victims, 20 people. And then by like 11, I immediately started texting all my friends that I thought maybe would have been there, because this is a place we all frequent. I've been there many, many times, and I have several friends who go there, who they have go-go dancers who dance there, you know, entertainment that's provided there. This is our community. This is where we hang. It's a place where people went to feel accepted and safe. And so I immediately started texting friends to make sure everyone was okay, and all my immediate friends were accounted for. And then by 11 a.m., I got word that no one had heard from Shane, and there was confirmation that he had been there the night before. So the next 24 hours, we were all just in limbo, because we didn't know, was he in the hospital? It was not like him to not check in, to not be heard from. And we knew he was there, and we knew, that no one could get a hold of him. So that was a very difficult time.
So, Lindsay, how did you end up finding out eventually? Like, how did it come to pass that you learned about him?
So then yesterday morning, I woke up. I had been in communication with all my friends that knew Shane. Anybody heard anything? You know, all throughout the day, we kept checking in. And I got up around 9 and text friends, have you heard anything? No, we'll let you know as soon as we do. And then at 10 a.m., on my Facebook, all these people started saying, I'm so sorry. And that was when they had added his name to the victim list.
Oh, that is so sad.
Wow. Well, Lindsay, thanks for sharing that story. It's,
sure.
You know, because we hear it as a news event, but then to actually, you know people who went through all of this. And it's just... It's, you know, you get up that morning and you say, hey, what are you doing tonight? Well, yeah, I'll meet you at this club. Let's go. It's the most normal thing in the world, and your life changes and then for some ends in a split second. And it's, But
Hey, Lindsay, before you go back to your rehearsal, tell us and our listeners what, if anything, they can do to help Shane Tomlinson's family.
Yes, there is a GoFundMe link that you can maybe search for his name. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact link. It's a GoFundMe direct funding for his family. There's also a One Pulse T-shirt that you can purchase. If you Google Pulse Nightclub proceeds, you purchase the T-shirt. It goes directly to the victims and their families. Okay. There's also, I believe if you go to Pulse Nightclub, they have all sorts of different ways that you can contribute to the victims listed on their website, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks,
Love
Lindsay.
you.
Lindsay, thank you.
Yeah, love you guys. Thanks.
See ya.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Wow, that's...
You know, these are crazy times, and the aftermath of all this has been a lot of politics. Would you agree, Jerry and Megan? I
Yeah.
mean, it's really kicked up a lot of dust. And,
and nothing worse than, I mean, I don't want to say nothing worse, but I mean, the thing that just got my blood, first there was shock. I was in England last week, so, so just hearing about this. So first there's shock, and then you're sad, and then the first tweet that comes across is that SOB Trump, and says, thanks for congratulating me. I mean, can you imagine?
I can't imagine it.
Politics aside, just as a human being, how cold do you have to be?
It's unbelievable, Jerry. I agree with you. And,
Yeah.
and then it gets worse because then the next day he said, I really think Trump is literally unhinged.
I
Because
think
the
he's
next
mentally
day-
unstable.
The next day he suggested very clearly, a very clear insinuation. He's such a prick. He couches his words so carefully that you can't say, well, this is exactly what you said. But he insinuated that President Obama is in with the terrorists.
Oh, can you?
That's freaking insane. That is a madman.
Yeah.
That's a madman.
Yeah, which a little later on in the program, we'll talk about that, because I think now he's gone off the deep end, and now we have to consider that a man running for president of the United States, and therefore, even though, I can't imagine that he's going to win, but when you're one of two left, I guess anything is possible. And the idea that someone so unstable could actually become president of the United States, leader of the free world, a finger on the nuclear button, I mean, all of a sudden, politics aside, I don't care what party you are, what philosophy you have, you cannot put a crazy man as president of the United States. And, the joking aside, and I know he's great material for Saturday Night Live and everything else, but this is a wake-up call. This is dangerous for the world. I was in England, as I keep saying, this past week. I am telling you, the people there are panicked. I mean, they keep thinking, what is America seriously considering? To them, it's like a joke, but then they get worried because, the world does kind of rely on Big Brother America being there. They may yell at us and get angry at us, but there's kind of like you kind of know America's got your back. If everything else goes down, and if America now can't be trusted, what the heck is that going to be? We'll talk more.
Yeah, we'll circle back to politics in a minute because there's some other stuff, and I'll just do a tease. And we have a great musical guest from a town in Florida called Sop Choppy, Florida, and just that alone means you got to stay with it and hear Grant Peeples, because we do sound checks and he's really good. And also, I felt very sorry for you last week. And Megan, you may relate to this too, because you and I traveled with Jerry and his lovely wife, Mickey, to Cuba.
We did.
A month ago. And it was very sad to look over at times. And this was in first class. We all got up into first class because we were rolling with Jerry Springer. But he looked so
It's true.
slumming,
He
so
did.
uncomfortable being on a commercial flight versus his private jet. And
It's a tough life that he
I'm
leads.
serious. I'm not joking. There were
know.
other people on this plane.
Breathing your air, drinking your drinks. I
What is
understand.
that about?
and I worried about you because I knew you were flying across the Atlantic
It was
Ocean.
the same thing. They had other
Hours
people.
you were on this plane,
Yeah.
in a cabin.
Now, they tried to talk me, because when you're in first class, you get like a bed. So you're in like a
pod.
little
Your
bit,
own-
a
You're-
pod. Is
yeah,
that what
you're
they
in a
call
It's like
it?
your own portalet, so to speak. It's like being in a portalet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
well.
still.
Yeah.
I tell you what, your issues, your problems are pretty legit, sir. I feel
Aren't they?
my heart
I mean,
breaks for you.
People don't know.
This
what
is
They
true.
don't.
This is not. I just thought about it.
Oh, no.
So I kind of doze off,
Yeah.
and I'm asleep. All of a sudden, ow! Well, a thing hit me in the head. No, what do you call them? The flight
tray?
attendants?
Yeah.
They opened the
my
baggage thing on top of me.
Where they
I
say,
was
be careful,
asleep.
it may have shifted during the
Yeah.
flight.
yeah.
Onto your head.
Oh, and the guy, he was beside himself because something hit me right on the head, and I woke, and ow! And you don't know where you are.
Whoa.
And honestly, I swear to God, and he just thought his career was over.
Yeah.
He
'Cause
should have said,
thinks
and
it's a
that's for
horrible
Western
thing to do,
civilization.
and then
Yeah.
He says, I told him, look, if you don't like the show, you don't
Yeah,
like the
yes,
show.
yes, say so.
But you don't start throwing
Understood.
stuff on me when I'm
Yeah.
asleep on a plane.
It's a
Did
low-
England put you in a concussion protocol?
Yeah.
Because of that?
Yeah, well, for many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us what you were doing in England, what you did, and brag a little bit about the fact that
is
we're
pretty
now
cool.
heard in England.
Oh,
Or
right.
will be soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're international.
Starting next week, every Saturday night, we're going to be on Talk Radio, and this podcast is on Talk Radio in England.
Woohoo.
So so that's going to be great. Yeah,
Love it.
all of Great Britain, and so I was there for that, and speaking in Oxford, which is
Just no big deal. Speaking at Oxford.
No.
Yeah, what did you talk about at Oxford?
I talked about an
Oxford
hour.
University. Yeah, about an hour. Yeah. No, what did you?
Good, I got my joke in for the day.
Got your joke for the week. What was
Yeah,
the
I talked
topic?
about the American election and all.
Yeah.
And and the fear they have of Trump and what's going on. Because on a serious note, there's a right-wing movement in the world. I mean, you have right-wing politicians rising up in Austria, Hungary, France. And now England has Brexit. Brexit is where the people of Britain will get to vote whether they want to stay part of the European Union. And frankly, the big issue is immigration. They want to be able, because right now they're open borders if you're part of the European Union. And just like in America, you can go from Indiana to Ohio, whatever, and you don't need a passport, you don't need a visa or anything like that. But England there's some in England now that want to pull out of the European Union so they will be able to say, you're not coming into our country. It's a real right-wing movement, so that's kind of sad. But here was my suggestion. My suggestion is if England withdraws from the European Union, I think they should consider, let bygones be bygones, they should become our 51st state.
England?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
The
That'd be good
revolution. The revolution was 240 years ago.
Yeah.
Get over it, okay? They become our 51st state. They'd become the largest state. They have 50 million people. They'd be larger than California in terms of population. So they'd now become our largest state. If they vote, they hate Trump. They'll never vote for Trump. Now
Good
that
angle.
and here's the best part. See, I was born in England, but if
no,
England
no,
is
no,
now
no,
part
no,
of
no, no,
America,
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
that means I'm American born. I can be president.
Whoa.
Take that, Trump. This is perfect.
I will not applaud
You
for that.
can imagine how the people took that.
That's a hell of an idea.
That
Wasn't
doesn't
it?
strike
Doesn't
fear in
it?
the hearts
Yeah.
of many. I don't know
yeah,
what
yeah.
could.
And England is about as far away from here as Alaska is from here.
Oh, Hawaii.
I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
Or Hawaii, yeah.
So there's no geographic reason why it couldn't be part of the mainland.
It's just a political question.
It is, and I'm really pushing for it now. I'm 72. Time's running out. I got to get
I'm
moving.
72.
Time's running. I got to move quickly if I want to be president.
I wanted to ask you something else.
Wowee.
I noticed, Megan, last week,
Yes,
because
sir.
we're still experimenting with Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And we're on Facebook Live again tonight. We're experimenting with the audio.
Right.
Because we're shooting it from Jerry's iPhone, which is kind of across the room. Everybody
Jerry's
waved
iPhone.
to Facebook
Do you know how much
Live.
that iPhone costs?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. And so we've jacked it into the sound system. We're hoping when you see there, if you're watching it live now, or if you see it on the playback. But I realize Megan's been the action agent to get this all. She takes Jerry's cell phone. She goes on. She asks Jerry for his password. This is a big deal. Your password's a big deal.
It is a big
With
deal.
identity theft.
Yeah.
You told me you wouldn't tell anyone.
Jerry.
Well,
Let's-
I don't
let's-
know
let's
that
talk
she would
about this
have
for
to
a
tell
second,
anybody
right.
because his password
For
and he tells
everything.
her for everything is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's his password.
Well, that's so
1,
I
2,
don't
3,
forget
4.
it.
I think it's real
works.
crazy.
I
It's
never
4, 3,
forget
2,
it.
1.
So we go to local restaurant in Cincinnati after the show each Tuesday, Skyline, and we're there, and so we're laughing at Jerry for having 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's all embarrassed. Like I said, it's kind of stupid. It's not. It's kind of intuitive, and a hacker would hit that on the second try, so he changes it.
He also has a sticker on his phone that
Well,
says
I've
property of
changed it
Jerry
now.
Springer.
Yeah, right. So he changed
Password
it
is.
to ABCD.
Yep.
See how you can remember that?
It's so
Unbelievable,
Yeah,
Jerry.
you shouldn't be allowed to have toys like that. Just really shouldn't.
Have you watched all the videos I have on that?
No.
Don't.
I don't want to see anything on that. I log into Facebook and get off.
Oh,
I do not touch anything else on that phone.
That's right.
I
That's right.
thank you, don't.
Oh, yeah. And then, in fact, I noticed you picked it up the other day with 2 pencils, like you wouldn't even touch it with your hand, or you'll put
come on.
a Kleenex around it or something.
I
Rubber gloves.
I'm always wearing gloves. Now look.
Hey, tell us about a trip you took back down memory lane not too long ago, and I think you may have referenced it on a podcast, but tell us in some detail. You went back home
Yes.
with some guys to
Oh yeah,
Kew
I was.
Gardens.
Yeah, well, because every year on my birthday, I was raised in New York in Queens, Kew Gardens, and every year on my birthday, Mickey and I and you and Bonnie, the 4 of us, we go back to the old neighborhood.
Yep.
I mean, the ritual.
Many years in a row now, Jerry. How many? I bet 20 years.
Oh, for sure.
20 years.
And in fact, and we go back to the old apartment house.
Yep.
The Roger Williams and the people in the apartment house, they kind of know I'm always coming around that time of the year, and they gather in the lobby. Here comes Gerald again.
Yeah.
But here's what's stupid. You always come along. What?
Oh, I love it.
You didn't grow up there. It has
No.
nothing to do with you.
My-
And you get excited about it.
My mom always said about me to other family members, it's interesting the things that will entertain a simple mind. So I go back. I think it's fun. I look forward to it.
We
every
knock
year.
on the door.
Going back to
and
Kew
these
Gardens?
people are so tired of me. I used to live here. We know.
Yeah.
Get out of here. And we go to the old schoolyard. Well, one of the friends I grew up with, Billy, he was having his 70th birthday, so he said, Gerald, I want to do it once, for his birthday. So 4 of us that grew up in that building, we go with him on his birthday and go to the same place. And we go to PS 99. There's a fence there where we went to grade school, and they closed the fence. It was a Saturday, but there was the schoolyard where we always played in.
Yeah.
And we wanted to get in there. So we start climbing
I was
the
going to say,
fence.
please don't say you climbed the
Here are
fence.
4 guys in their 70s,
Jesus.
and people start coming by watching it, and I can't lift my leg.
You can't get over.
Oh, it was horrible, but it had points at the top. Now I'm
You
kind of like
you didn't think any of this through, did you?
no, and people are coming by. Hey, there's Jerry Springer. Jerry.
all that recognition you wanted, there, you've got it. You're perched on a fence.
Oh, but the picture they had of me wasn't big because what was facing them was my butt. Because I was trying to get over it. But anyway, so we went back, and it's the old neighborhood.
Did you make it over the fence? Did you?
No, they came and got me down. I couldn't get over. Well, because I was afraid if I got over, then how am I going to get back?
All the things you should have thought of before you started climbing said fence.
But when do you see, really, if you didn't know what was going on, wouldn't you call the police? I mean, you see 4 guys in their 70s, and the fence was like 8, 10 feet high. Yeah. I mean, you got to climb up the...
I've seen the fence.
Yeah.
I didn't climb
It's
it. But I've seen it.
dangerous.
It's a terrible fence, and that makes me think of something that happened to me a few years back. My wife and I live in a condo in Ludlow, and I always want to give a little prop to the company I run here called the Ludlow City Bus Company. But anyway...
The company that you run now?
I run
You
that
run
company,
it?
yeah.
Well, that
Got a promotion.
That explains
that
everything.
explains a lot.
But anyway, we lived in another neighborhood across the river in Cincinnati a few years back. We had a dog, and I know you have a dog.
I do.
And Jerry, you've had a dog. We
Yes.
all have had dogs. We
Yes.
love, and you still do, Megan.
Love your dog.
And we love our pets.
Yep.
And I had a black lab named Dahlia, for Black Dahlia. And I am known to be kind of cheap. Would you agree?
Kind
Duh.
of cheap.
Okay. So
Is Is this the year that you'll buy at Skyline Chili? You'll pay
Yeah,
for dinner?
I got it tonight. I got it. So we needed electric fencing because we lived in a suburban neighborhood and we had a decent size yard, but we needed to keep the dog in. So electric fencing was like a big deal, sweeping the country. Do you use it where you are? Do you have-
My folks did. We always had it growing up for our dogs.
Okay, so you know electric fencing.
Yeah.
Did you ever have it in any of the
My
homes?
parents had it for me.
I do believe
They
that.
put a collar
It's the
around me.
originator of it right there,
Gave
Mr. and
him a
Mrs.
slight
Springer.
correction. Yeah.
Gerald, come on.
So it came time to buy electric fencing for my dog. I got on the phone. I called a bunch of companies. And by the way, this is what I learned. And it was consistent, call by call by call. Yeah. They charge a fair amount of money, thousands of dollars. They come in, they dig it out, they lay it in, they cover it up so cosmetically you can't see the fence. But then part of the money is they come back and they condition the animal. That's in the deal. And it might even be a different person who comes back and works with your dog with some leash practicing, and they get it to understand the beeps, and the beeps say stay back, and it works. So I hired this company, and they were way cheaper. I mean, a third of what the others were.
So you said, let's take this company.
I
This is a
took
good
that
idea.
company, and I vetted the guy, and he knew somebody that I knew, and it's somebody that you knew too, Jerry. And I
I was
thought,
going to say, your vetting has
Well,
proven
you've seen it.
to not be
with
that
Who Would Like to Date Megan. By the way, another guy is now lined up. I don't have him here tonight, but we have this promotion called Would You Like to Date Megan? It has blown up. I mean, we're getting constant contacts. I want to come. I want to vet me. I want to be a finalist. And then the winner takes Megan to dinner. My wife and I go. I have GoPro on my ball cap, and we video the whole thing, and you get to see it. Okay, so I am, and Megan is comfortable with this bit because she knows that I'm a good vetter, that I'm really looking out for her, right? That's why she's
For your
willing to
dog,
do this.
apparently,
So I vet these companies. I pick this guy.
Oh, dear God.
Guy comes in a pickup truck. Cool guy. His hat on
Beer in
backwards.
hand,
a few
I'm
years ago.
sure.
Beer. And he lays in this fence. Did a good job. Gets it all covered up. And he asked for a check. And I gave him the check because I thought, well, you pay up front. And then he comes back like 4 or 5 Saturdays and works with your dog about an hour each time, which is exactly how it works. So I hand him the check, and he turns to his truck, and I said, my dog doesn't know electric fencing. He says, well, yeah, well, here's the collar. Just put the collar on. I says, well, what do you mean? Just put the collar on? I said, isn't there a conditioning that, behaviorism, a conditioning that you do for the dog? And he just thought of it, said, well, yeah, all right, where's your dog? And I said, well, she's inside. I said, go get your dog. Just bring her out on a leash. Brought her out on a leash. He put the collar on her, and he took her and pulled her over the fence. She jumped about 6 feet in the air, twisted all up and down, and he handed me the leash. And she said she won't cross that fence down. He got in his truck and drove away.
You are not allowed to vet anyone else for Who Wants to Date Megan.
Trust me,
ever.
that dog never crossed that fence.
That is disgusting.
But that dog never talked to me again for the rest of her life, by the way. That dog, would not
poor
cower.
animal.
That is exactly what this guy did. And he drove down the driveway saying, hey, see you later, Gene. See ya.
And you went through the process of finding. Oh my God!
I will give you his name and phone number because he's like a third of what they normally charge.
Electric fencing.
Not half, a third of what they charge.
I'm gonna put that collar around you and drag you
So,
through
Megan,
the fence.
I'm going to pick a guy for you. Just trust me.
We got this.
And in
now.
some ways, he's going to be the best guy for you.
Ever. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, hey, Jerry.
Hey, Gene.
We're driving over here,
Yeah.
and we should pull the curtain back here of Wizard of Oz and explain. Driving over here, sometimes the whole podcast changes, right?
It did. This is God's truth. This
And
is
we're-
exactly
so-
what happened today.
I believe this all.
So we're driving over here, and Jerry had one thought in mind, and tell what happened, and then dig in on it because I think it's really good stuff.
Well, and maybe we'll get to it anyway, but I planned today to talk about, in fact, I called you last week because I was really getting in on this issue.
From England.
From England.
And by the way, we have to talk at dinner about the idea we talked about.
Yeah.
We've got numbers for that, et cetera.
Oh, good.
All right.
And the idea was that Donald Trump we cannot have his finger on the nuclear button. I mean, that is a really, really serious issue. And we got to figure out a way to have people think about it. Because I think if people think about it, you're not going to care anymore whether you're a Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, anything. you're suddenly going to say, wait a second, maybe I enjoyed this guy on Apprentice. Maybe, I'm amused by him, whatever your reasons. But it's pretty hard for a thinking person to honestly say, of all the people in the world, this is the man that you want making the singular decision about whether we have nuclear war. I mean, here's a guy who gets so angry if someone says something about him, he immediately attacks back. It's very thin-skinned, like a fourth grader. He picked on me, well, I'll get him, But this guy can set off nuclear missiles. And the country has to really focus in on that. So I was thinking of trying to get going some national poll by maybe major institutions. And the issue is, about a month or so before the general election, the tradition is that the major party candidates get a briefing from the CIA, the FBI, and the military, the Defense Department, about what our top secret nuclear issues are. You get a briefing, and then the day you get sworn in, you're immediately given the black bag and you're told the codes and stuff like that. We have to figure out a way, because he just spouts off anything that comes in his mind. We can't be giving nuclear secrets to Donald Trump. Clearly not before he's president. I mean, they have to change the system. And I think the Defense Department and leaders of the Republican Party and Democratic Party, responsible leaders in this country, have to get together, not in front of the cameras, but they have to figure out a new way. How do we make sure that Trump doesn't get his hands on this information? Because he will just blurt it out. He'll think, oh, this is great. I'll call in the show and say, yeah, well, I could do this. Boom. So this is really a serious issue, and that's what we were talking about. Anyway, on the drive over here, we're just commiserating. Geez, now with Trump's response to what happened a couple of days ago in Orlando and his just ridiculous response to it. And then we started talking about Paul Ryan, who, Speaker of the House and leader of the Republican Party, certainly one of the leaders. And all of a sudden he caved because he was, I'm putting the partisan hat aside now, even though I don't like his political philosophy. He's a grown-up. If that's your point of view, he's a legitimate person, bright, not crazy. And he was saying, when Trump went off with his racist comments several weeks ago, he said, I don't know that I can endorse him for president. And then, when it looked like Trump was going to be the candidate, he caves in. He says, well, he would support the agenda. Maybe I can go ahead with it. Well, here's what I want to talk about tonight. And maybe we can figure out a way to do this. Look, I'm an avowed Democrat. I love the Democratic Party. I'm a liberal, etc. But I love my country more. And there has to be a way that responsible Republican leaders can still love their party, can still love their philosophy, but love their country more, that they recognize that regardless of their politics, Donald Trump cannot be president of the United States. And I would appear to be the last person to give Republicans advice as to what they should do. But here's something I think they can do which would be in their interest. And I'm just saying it out loud because the country's more important than my party. What I think Paul Ryan ought to do, and the other leaders of the Republican Party, and Romney and McCain and all the other, responsible leaders, because they are responsible. We have different points of view, but they're not crazy people. They should be able to say, Paul Ryan can say, I'm a Republican. We have an agenda. We love these issues. And I want you to go to the polls and vote for this Republican Congress. But for president, we can't in good conscience support, so you're on your own. We're not giving up our party. We're not changing our philosophy, whatever. We believe in our party, but we're not going to fake it and pretend that Trump's okay. Donald Trump is not okay for America. He may be the nicest person personally. I don't know. When I was in England, I do reports on the American election for Good Morning Britain. It's on ITV. The host of the morning show is Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, remember, for a while was, well, I met Piers when I was hosting America's Got Talent, and he was one of the judges. And then he took Larry King's place on CNN. And now he's in England hosting Good Morning Britain. Well, he knows Donald Trump very well because you'll remember Piers Morgan won The Apprentice. Remember? So he knows Donald Trump. And he's saying to me, you know, and he says, I wouldn't vote for Trump because he doesn't like his position on guns, et cetera. He says, but he's not really a racist. And I didn't want to say, you know, on the air, and I didn't want to say, but that's just bullshit. And the reason it is, he may not personally believe all this stuff. But when you're in politics, words are weapons. And so even if he didn't personally believe the stuff he's saying about Muslims and Mexicans and, you know, whatever the minority group is, the fact that he's saying it and giving cover to racists and supporting racist policies like no Muslims permitted to come into America. By the way, the Pulse massacre, the guy was born in America. He's an American, okay? And he didn't get his direction from ISIS. He looks on the internet. But he had no connection. And this week he said he liked ISIS, but a couple of weeks ago it was a division of Al-Qaeda that is in a death match with ISIS. You know, then he was on the side of the opponents of ISIS. So all of that was garbage. The point is that he can say, I'm really not a racist, and what the Republican Party should say, that this is the most un-American thing we can do, to start discriminating against an entire religion because a bunch of people in that religion do vicious things. Are we saying that we're not permitting Christians to come to America because the Ku Klux Klan puts up crosses in people's lawns? Do we condemn Christianity because the Klan and with the lynchings and all that, they profess to be Christians and then they do these horrible things? Of course not. So why would you condemn Muslims because some people who are Muslim do horrible things or have horrible ideas? Paul Ryan, who I take it is a good human being, and John McCain, who clearly is a good human being, wrong on a lot of issues, but do you doubt his love of America? How these people have to pretend they're for Trump when they know he can't be president of the United States and still have an America. They ought to stand up as one and say, we're not going to finagle the rules at the convention because that would just lead to an uproar. We are just saying, we believe in the Republican Party. We support the ideals of the Republican Party. We support the platform of the Republican Party. Whatever it is, we hope you vote for the Republican congressmen, Republican senators. Let them campaign for the Republican Party and what they believe in. But we are not going to give our endorsement to someone who is totally contrary to everything what this country we love, what it stands for, and what it believes. That would be a profile in courage.
Yeah.
And vote for Hillary.
And vote for Jerry Springer if we can get England in as a 51st state. Yes. But, you know, if Paul Ryan did that, just to add one little thing, he would have, Jerry, a future forever in this country with the mainstream voters of this country.
Yep.
And isn't it odd, and we were kind of joking about this driving over here, you and I are about as staunch Democrats, liberal Democrats as you can find, lifelong. And we really do, we were both saying, it's vital for America to have a vibrant two-party system. We don't I won't be rejoicing if in November the Republican Party as we know it for at least a time period drops off the face of the earth, and that's what Trump could cause. I mean, they can't stop him now, you're right. It's going to play out. But man, Paul Ryan is an example of somebody that could have a future. And if he played this smart and played it right meaning the proper way to do it, he could both help himself and help his party.
Here's the thing, and one last thing in it. It's, look, famous last words, Donald Trump is not going to be elected, okay? In the end, people will come to their senses. He's not going to be elected. He's been running in Republican primaries in a universe that is not the same as the entire American electorate, okay? So it's not going to happen. My point is this. I know he's not going to get elected. His candidacy, if it is endorsed by respectable people, says a horrible thing about our country. That's the damage. The damage is by his running. The damage is it gives cover to racists, to people that think it's perfectly okay that you keep millions of people just because of their religion that they can't be part of America. What did anybody die for in our proud history? What was the purpose? If America doesn't stand for, we don't care what your religion is. This is a free country. It's the most basic American thing there is. That's why he has to be stopped. He's not going to win, but he's already doing tremendous damage. Look at the discussions we're having today. Look at what people are saying.
Well, and you don't mean to suggest that he be stopped from running because
anybody can run, but he shouldn't be endorsed.
And
people should run away. Honestly, and I mean this. If a racist ever ran on the Democratic ticket, I would say I'm a lifelong Democrat. Vote for all the other Democrats, but you're not putting my name on a sign that says
you got it.
Yeah,
we would walk
don't
away
vote
from
for that president. Walk away.
You know what the thing that you worry about, I worry about, and you never want self-fulfilling prophecies, but he's poisoning the dialogue and the thought process to a point, particularly with the latest things he said yesterday and things he said about Obama, that he's in with the terrorists. You worry that somebody's going to get hurt here. Orlando is somebody got hurt because of one set of things. You worry that somebody's going to hurt some Muslim family, some other crazy person incited by this. It's very coarse, dangerous language. I worry about that.
Yeah, imagine being. First of all, none of us had anything to do with our birth, right? I've spoken about that many times. So we had nothing to do with to whom we'd be born, what family we'd be born into, what the color of our skin would be, who our parents would be, right? So that's what we are. Imagine if you had been born Muslim in America and you're living here in the country. You've been a wonderful citizen. You worked hard in school. You got a wonderful job. You got kids. Whatever's going on, you got a wonderful life.
Your kid fought in the military. That's common in America.
Yes, your kid fought in the military. Just wonderful people. Imagine what they feel like now waking up every day. Their kids arguing, people looking at them. People being suspicious every time they sit down in a restaurant, every time they go to an airport. Imagine what that feels like. It's horrible. It's horrible. And these poor people, they've done nothing wrong. Oh, I keep saying one last thing. With what happened at the Pulse, if they would have had assault weapons, if they would have had guns, they could have protected themselves. Have you ever been to a nightclub? I mean, first of all, let's say every one of them went to the nightclub with their assault weapons. You're going out Saturday night. You're going with your friends. Hey, bring your assault weapon.
Get your AK.
First of all, think this through, because this is what they're saying. We ought to have guns so we could protect ourselves in these incidents, right? So So here's the deal. You go to a nightclub. Where do you put your assault weapon? Do you check it with your coat? Or let's say you start dancing. You're going to put it down someplace. Now, if you've been to these nightclubs, they're dark. They are dark. The music is loud. It is dark. There are flashing lights. You hear some popping off. There are 1,000 people in the club. You hear maybe shots. You grab the gun. Who are you going to shoot? Where are you shooting? Everybody just starts firing?
It's insane.
Killing hundreds. I mean, it's
insane.
it's so insane. Then Congress, here's another thing. Trump wants to keep the Muslims out, right? Muslims can't come into the country if he's president. We have a terrorist list. People under suspicion of terrorism. They're a watch list, the terrorist watch list that the CIA, FBI, whatever keeps, Homeland Security. Congress will not permit the people on those lists to be restricted from buying guns. Did you hear what I just said? You can keep someone out of the country because they're Muslim. But if someone is on the terrorist list, you're not allowed to stop that person from having guns. Help me here. This is absurd. I swear I'm not crazy. Maybe for other reasons, but not this. No one could sit down and tell me why it makes sense to permit people on the terrorist list to have guns. And Trump will fight to keep that. Congress will not stop that from happening. They forbid banning terrorists from having guns. And yet, by God, if I'm elected, we're going to get tough with those terrorists.
And, and the gun thing, Sandy Hook didn't do it to bring, remember, AK-15s, assault rifles, weapons of war, were banned. It lapsed. The conservative Congress has chosen not to bring back the restriction on them. Sandy Hook wasn't enough to bring those politicians to their senses or to have the public outcry big enough that forced them. Now we've had this incident. Personally, I'm a liberal Democrat. I have a Ruger 454 Kazoo, and I have a Remington 870 Express 12-gauge shotgun. I shoot them both. I enjoy going to ranges and shooting. I don't have them for people. It's more for, frankly, grizzly bear defense when I go into the backcountry, because that's what I like to do. And if you had at Pulse on early Sunday morning, there were 3 police officers, one off-duty on site, who engaged the shooter.
Yeah.
And there were 2 others that arrived within minutes. It is now coming out that some of the people who died in the club, this is going to be easy to determine because all they have to do is look at what bullets killed those people, came from the cops. God bless everybody involved. I am not, emphasize, not blaming the cops. It was an insane situation. If you allow people to walk up freely with an AK-15 that he bought 3 days earlier in Florida, you put everybody at a huge disadvantage. If he came in there with a Glock or a handgun, that's a whole different deal. You would not have 49 dead people and 53 wounded.
Exactly.
They have got to ban these AK-15s.
Mm-hmm. What are they for other than in a war?
They're weapons of war. And it's insane. And it's the freaking NRA that scare these cowardly conservative Republicans. They run scared of the NRA. Mm-hmm. A lot of these Republicans that go onto the floor of the House and the Senate know in their hearts this is wrong, but they're a bunch of chicken shits, and some Democrats.
Did you hear about the Democrat from Connecticut, though? I think it was yesterday or even today that stood up and walked out. Paul Ryan was hosting a moment of silence for the victims, and he said,
"They're done with moments of silence."
With the moment of silence. He said,
"Do something."
Yeah, President Obama has been up. This is his 13th time in his presidency. I think 12th or 13th time.
Good for him. Yes.
Yeah, and he said, "No, we're done with this. The moments of silence. We have to take some action on it. It's beyond ridiculous."
Maybe that's one thing that comes out of this. Let's turn to some music, and I think I incorrectly named the town, and we're going to talk to.
No, you did it perfectly.
Is it Slop Choppy
No,
or
Sop Choppy?
Sop.
Sop Choppy, Florida?
Sop Choppy, Florida.
I
Tell
live
us
in
about
Florida.
that, first of
Where's
all.
Sop Choppy?
Well, let's hear it for Grant Peeples.
Yeah.
Sop Choppy is 26 miles southwest of Tallahassee.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
there you
All
go.
right.
It's in Wakulla County.
All right. Folk singer from Florida, and start us off with a song, please.
Well, I'm the kind of fella that doesn't talk much. I usually stay in my seat and keep my mouth shut. But the last couple years, I started getting depressed. The popular culture has got me all upset. For a while there, I thought I was gonna fold. I was starting to wig, I was losing control, so I set upon a self-therapeutic move. And I picked up this guitar and I wrote Grant's Talking Blues. And there were narcissists on the left and fundamentalists on the right, and madmen in the middle, not a savior in sight. I was overwhelmed by the lies and the danger and the doom. Your king had no clothes and there was an elephant in the room. I seen coddled kids indulged and obese, relating to the world through computer screens, oblivious to the demise of our fragile planet, and how the economy was killing it and they were just trying to expand it. I seen the love of money had a nominal effect upon who your kids were and how they would act. There was hip-hop and NASCAR and American Idol and iPhones and iPods and virtual battles. Immediate gratification hummed a collective groan, promenading through shopping malls while there was a war going on. You'd been duped and screwed by unscrupulous minions who gave away the store and stole the elections. And they started that war under false pretenses, then abandoned justice and our poor soldiers in the trenches. I started searching for answers like a starving dog, digging through this culture in search of a bone, something to hold on to, something I could believe in, something to make sense of all the madness I was seeing. Yeah, but all that was there was sentimentality and patriotic blindness and religious banality. Flag-waving fools had pawned the future. Now they were losing their grip, but still digging in deeper. Yeah, the American experiment, it was on the rocks, all high on its fumes and deeply in hock, stumbling forward through expanding bandwidth while leaving a hideous stain on our national canvas. You see, this is just a mall building culture. It was in denial. Global warming kicked up, we just turned the dial. Bought bigger SUVs, burned coal, fertilized our lawns. But integrity's like virtue, man. You can't just turn it off and on. Anyhow, it was too late and I despaired and turned inward, which for me, pathologically, is a dangerous venture. But I was lost and unbalanced. Things were terribly wrong. Thank God I found an antidote by writing my songs. And so that's what I do these days, try to keep my sanity. I know this whole touring folk singer thing kind of comes across like vanity. But after 50 years of living, I finally see how things work. You live life forward, but then you have to figure it out in reverse. And so, America's a broken dream and civilization's a bust. And I've learned to hide my disappointment and mistrust. And that's the point of this song, that's the gist of all my tunes. That's why this one gets called Grant's Talking Blues. La-da.
That's a good one. Hey, Sop Choppy, what's it like? You say it's south of Tallahassee. Is it small
Sop
town?
Choppy it was a very small town. It has 2 stop signs. It had its day. My great-grandfather was a charter member of the city back in the teens of the last century. And he... there was a turpentine industry and all of that, and they had, as my grandmother said, theaters.
Yeah.
They had theaters and rooming houses and plays and all of that. Now it's just a kind of just a 2-stop sign town.
Yeah. Did you grow up there and go to
No,
school
I
there?
actually grew up in Tallahassee.
Okay.
That's where I live now. And I went to school in college in North Carolina. But,
Did you?
Yeah, and then I 1995. That song I just sang and forgot some of the words too. I did it on the fly based upon what you guys were talking about, so I moved to Nicaragua in 1995.
No kidding.
Yeah, I went to. It was kind of an experiment. Moved to a little island called Little Corn Island off the coast of Bluefields. I was there 11 years and didn't play guitar, didn't do any of that kind of stuff, and moved back here in 2006. And that was the first song I wrote when I came back. That was my re-entry into American culture
that's
song.
poetry.
You spent how many years in Nicaragua?
I was 11 years there.
No kidding.
Yes.
So you speak fluent Spanish?
I speak Spanish, yes.
That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. And your latest album is A Congress of
A
Treasons?
Congress of Treasons.
Okay.
And I've made 3 records with Gurf Morlitz, who has been here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we love Gurf
Gurf
Morlitz.
produced 3 of my records and sings on this last one.
Oh, yeah, that's great. No kidding. Yeah, we love him. He
Yeah.
did a session here with us. And your website is Grant Peeples, Peeples.
PLES, correct.
.com.
That's it.
Yeah, do a second song
I will.
for us, would you?
And I'm being from Florida. We had our governor. As soon as I moved back, we had a governor in the state who. Our economy was sagging, and he thought we needed like a new state song to build it up, get people to come down there and start
That'll
spending
do it.
money again. The irony, and you've been to Florida, the irony is the
Jerry
old-
lives in Florida, by the way.
Yeah.
Our old state song was called "The Old Folks at Home,"
Yeah.
which was an irony lost on everybody except for me and Jeb Bush, I think. And he knew it was like a bad marketing idea. So he had this campaign for a new state song, and I entered it, and I lost.
That's good.
In the middle of the winter, when you need a vacation, come where the sun and the sand is waiting, right down here at the bottom of our nation. I'm talking about Florida. Yeah, come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. And there's 1,000 new residents coming down every day. They're all moving in and buying up the place. They're filling in the swamps to make some more space. And man, we're starting to need it. We got snake farms and alligator wrestlers, more state executions than anywhere but Texas. Shuffleboard and wet t-shirt contestants. Man, you gotta see it to believe it. Come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. Well, we're #1 in lightning strikes, snake bites, alligator and shark attacks. We got 1 million illegal aliens to sack all our trash, clean toilets, wash dishes, and cut the grass. I'm telling you, it's heaven. We feature 1 golf course for every man, woman, and child. We cut down the trees and get to see for miles. Don't it seem like a place you could kick back a while? Well, dude, it don't get no better. Yeah, come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. We got these federally subsidized sugar plantations. They're bigger and richer than most European nations. They own our politicians and hire all the Haitians. It's what you call a sweet deal. Well, everybody said it was some kind of joke when we said it ain't over till your brother counts the votes. And 12 years later, we elected Rick Scott. It's what you call a state's deal. And come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody else does. Well, our school system rate's higher than Mississippi and Louisiana. And though we ain't up there with Arkansas and Alabama, 32% of our kids wind up in the slammer. And that's gotta count for something. You see, we ain't got no state income tax, 'cause we just stick it to all the Yankee tourists from Ohio, and that makes up for that. A service-based economy, that's what keeps us fat. That and a lot of fried mullet. Come on down to the Sunshine State. Bring your money, check out the place. Well, chances are you'll decide to stay. Hell, everybody, everybody, everybody else does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, that is great. And that song didn't win?
They passed
Yeah,
on
how'd
it.
that song
They
go?
passed on that
They
for the
passed on it.
How
That's
could they?
weird.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's Grant Peeples.
you so
Again, you
much.
can hear him at grantpeeples.com. And would you take us out on
Yes.
Irene Goodnight?
I think I'm gonna be able to pull this off here.
All right, and Jerry Springer will jump in on it with you too. That's all right.
Last Saturday night, I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Now me and that old broad have parted. I'm gonna take another trip downtown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in the river and drown.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.